Hey guys, it's Dena. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm a graphic designer, digital artist, and content creator, and I make videos about design, art, and my life as a creative. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, consider subscribing because I'll be posting a lot about that. In this video, I'll be showing you guys my creative process and how I go about creating my digital artworks that you see on my Instagram and TikTok pages, which, by the way, if you're not following me, go follow me. It's at Nguyen. I'll be walking you guys through my creative process and how I go about finding inspiration, sourcing the images, and putting it all together in Photoshop. So without any further ado, we're going to turn this around and I'm going to be sharing my laptop screen and sharing my process on there. Let's go. Wee! Hello from the other side. So I'm gonna be sharing my screen and looking this way because my monitor's here. I promise she's not dead, so don't go report me or flag this video. She's very much alive. She's just snoozing, okay? She's sleeping. Sleepy kitty. Look. See? She moves. She's alive. She's not a stuffed animal. Okay, let's get into it. First thing I think about before I go about creating anything is inspiration. What is the concept that I want? Currently, I would describe my digital artworks as very conceptual pieces, meaning that I like to kind of portray some kind of messaging or meaning behind the image rather than just for purely aesthetic purposes. Today's piece is actually going to be quite dark in terms of the concept. This concept is revolved around us being our own worst critic or our own worst enemy and having this darkness or inner demon inside of us that we're always trying to battle or combat. So this piece is something that I really got inspiration from just my own life experiences, and I feel like a lot of people can resonate with it. So that's going to be the concept for today's piece. So the second step is to find the right images to really portray my concept or get the message across. I'll be sourcing my images from Envato Elements, which is today's video sponsor. They have a whole bunch of creative assets, millions and millions and millions, for just a low price of what, $16.50 a month? That's a steal if you ask me. So the first thing is that I want to go in the photo section to look for an image of a subject or model that I feel like would best suit this concept. And a lot of times I don't come up with a concept until I come across a photo, which is interesting. But let's just go through the images here for what I searched for, model face, because I want this to kind of be an intimate, up close and personal pose here. I really like this one right here where her face is half painted with black, and it just immediately reminds me of, you know, all of us having our own inner demons inside that we're combating, and it's not so visible on the outside. It's a very internal battle. I think we could create something pretty cool with this image. So I'm gonna go ahead and download it, and I'm gonna create a new project in Envato Elements called Inner Demons, because that's what the concept of this piece is. So usually in my pieces, I like to have like 2 or 3 graphic elements to really complement the main subject. So for this one, I'm imagining, you know, a mannequin hand kind of pulling her in one direction. So I'm gonna go into the 3D section and look up mannequin hand. And the cool thing about the 3D objects is that you can rotate it to your desired angle and then download that specific angle, which is very, very cool. And then I think I want another mannequin hand, but in white, to be like kind of on her shoulder area on the other side. So I'm trying to find the right angle here, and then I'm gonna download it. And then I'm gonna, I don't know, search for like a bouquet of flowers or something. I like to have secondary graphic elements to really complement the piece. So I really love adding flowers and incorporating floral elements in my pieces. I think I want to do like a half withered flower. I came across this daisy one, so we're gonna go with daisy flowers for this. Get the right angle, download it, and then we're gonna look for very much alive and thriving daisy image. And I think we have all our assets now to start the piece. All right, now that we have all of our images, we're going to open it in Photoshop. All right, so here's all the assets that we'll be using. So I'm gonna drag all of them in So I'm going to be explaining or kind of walking you guys through my process under the assumption that you have some knowledge of Photoshop or know how to use it. So the first thing I do is I have the model or subject layer on the very bottom. First thing I like to do is cut the model from the background. So I'm going to use my pen tool or just hit P on my keyboard and go over the outline of her. And I'm not too worried that I'm not getting all these edges perfectly, because I'm gonna go to the refine tool, which will help get all those little strands of hair. So I'm gonna show you how to do that. All right, once we got that, we're gonna do selection, then make sure it's inverted, and then hit add layer mask, which will cut the subject from the background. But you see the outline of her hair is a little bit rough, and we gotta get the background off from here. So the way to do that is make sure you hit W or the selection tool here. You're gonna hit select and mask, which will pull this up and show. With the refine edge brush tool, you're just gonna kind of paint over the little strands of hair that we still need to get rid of. Going around her head, make sure we didn't miss any of those little strands of hair on her. Okay, so after I've gotten her in a position that I'm pleased with and gotten most of the background, I like to duplicate this and then turn it into a smart object, and then work on a new layer for this, and then just hide the background one. So at this point I am going to cut from below her eyes here. It's just kind of a style that I've been really leaning towards, because I want the daisies to kind of come out of her head here. So we're going to make a selection here, and then again use the masking tool, add layer mask, get rid of that. New layer with the pen tool. We're gonna kind of create like the inside of the head, where it's supposed to be pretty like hollowed out. So I'm gonna create this shape or selection here. Make sure it's on a new layer. And then I like to use the eyedropper tool to kind of sample her skin color, maybe like the darker parts of her skin. Move this and then kind of paint in there. And then for the edges, I like to kind of use the brush tool and just slightly add some depth with these shadows and stuff. Sort of like that. And then sometimes I don't like the way I cut out, you know, her face or something, for example. It's like for here, I don't think I like the arch when it goes up her nose bridge. So I'm gonna go back to this layer. We're just gonna do one consistent arch instead of making it loop up and down. So we're gonna fix this part where it gets cut off here, because I don't like the way it looks. All right, I think I like that a little bit better. Yeah. And let's select this again. We're gonna work on the colors. So this part's gonna be hollowed out because I want the daisies to come out from this part of her head. I like to add this trim that kind of goes on the edge here. So what we're gonna do is go to that portrait layer, and let me see, how thick do I want this trim? Maybe like that. And then hit selection. And then we're gonna copy and then paste it. I'm gonna turn this into smart object layer. And then we're gonna copy and paste this. So now that part is just cut off. And then usually I do like a blend of like hard light, maybe hard or vivid, hard light. But because there's like a lot of black, I'm gonna turn this into like a solid color. It's a color overlay. Maybe not white, but one of the lighter colors of her skin. Sort of like that. I'm gonna turn this trim into a smart object. Add a new layer. Clip it to the trim layer, and I'm gonna try to make this trim kind of pop out a little bit more, so kind of adding light colors, like a white light. And then on the edges of this trim, I'm gonna sample her darker skin tones and add that to the edges here. And I like to like zoom in and out just to see the composition overall, make sure everything's kind of looking, I guess, the way I want it to. And a lot of times you just have to like play around with the settings and see as you go. I think that's also the beauty of art. Okay, I'm kind of liking where it's at right now. I think I'm gonna add the daisies. Okay, so I have the withered ones, and then so the withered ones, I'm gonna move the withered ones on the right side because that's kind of where the black paint is coming from. So we're going to kind of position it in a way where it's closer over here. I'm gonna make it smaller. The cool thing about downloading the 3D objects in Envato Elements is that the background is already cut for you. See that? So it makes life a lot easier. Layer mask, and then I'm just gonna kind of carve away with the brush tool. Remember, when you have a layer mask, the white is to show, the black is to hide. Okay, white shows, black hides. Anyways, I'm gonna go with the pen tool. I'm gonna go a little bit more precise here, and just using the pen tool to make the selection where it's right on the edge. So selection. All right. Then I'm gonna add a new layer and clip it to the withered daisies. Now we're gonna add some shadow. Just gonna start. And seeing if there's a blend mode where the shadow would look a little better, like overlay. Soft light is not too bad either. Let's do overlay. I don't like that. Let's see, another one of the daisy layers. This is the brighter ones. So this one's gonna go on this other side. Let's see how I want to position it first. Okay. Let me see if having this other layer helps with adding a little bit more, helps fill up the gaps over here. Okay. Alright, again doing the same thing with the layer mask, kind of cutting off where it would go on the edge. Alright, and then this other layer. Let me see where I want this. Maybe we can flip this. So we have mixing it up a little bit more. And once again, pen tool, go around this daisy selection. There we go. Honestly, I'm not sure how I feel about this extra daisies over here. I don't like how it's kind of straying away from everything else. So I'm probably just going to hide this section. Alright, I think I'm liking that a lot more. Just hiding that one daisy that was cutting off over here. And we need to add shadows to this. So new layer, and then clipping mask on that layer. Brush tool. Let's add some shadows to the bottom here. And overlay looking pretty good. Alright, we'll do another new layer clipping mask on this flower here. Maybe blend mode of overlay again. Cool. Alright, let's see. The mannequin hands. This is the black one. I think I want it kind of like pulling her from this way, you know? So like, kind of think I want the hand like this. We're gonna hide this second, the middle finger, we're gonna hide it because it's supposed to be kind of behind her face. Or the way I want it is like behind the face. I'm just gonna mask that away. We have to add a little shadow where this finger is. So, brush tool, just a soft brown brush. But this I feel like should be clipped onto the model. Yep, there we go. So when I'm like putting together the images, I'm trying to think of like how can I make the images blend in better together so they look like one image instead of a bunch of different images pieced together. So shadows and highlights is very important for that, and something that I try to keep in mind when I'm kind of putting things together. Now this white one, I was thinking of having it be rotated this way, but I need to cut out the fingers from this circular thing. So we're going to use the pen tool and just kind of go around. Actually, I don't know if this hand, if I even like it anymore, or if it's even necessary. So I might just get rid of this hand, honestly, because now that I'm thinking, I mean, and that happens a lot of the times too, like I would change my mind throughout the process, and nothing's ever really set in stone when I'm creating something. And if there's something that I think looks better in the moment or needs to, you know, change, it kind of just happens a little bit spontaneously. Some things you just have to try, and then if it doesn't work out, at least you tried it, and that's kind of part of the process, you know. I'm gonna group and name my layers so it's a little bit more organized here. It's a way to kind of help me keep track of things and be more organized. All right, background color, I usually save to the end for some reason, but I think maybe like a dark red would work for this, just because it's such a like intense piece in terms of the concept, like it's dark. So I think having something moody like a deep red would suit it perfectly. Or sometimes I'll like sample certain colors that are already part of the image, like for example her lips are this light pinky color, which I kind of like actually. Maybe the darker shadowy parts. Yeah, it's not too bad. And I'm gonna still keep working on the lights and shadows for this piece. So usually the subject has a light source coming from one prominent direction, and I just kind of follow that. So I'm gonna do a new layer with a white brush. I think I want the light to be more prominent on her, on the left side here, and then use a blend mode to make it look a little bit more natural. Like soft light. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm gonna do another layer. Soft light. Since the light source is kind of more on this side, I want it for more coming from this side. So I'm really gonna amp it up on this side. And then the dark, I'm gonna add more over here. Again, blend mode. Same thing with the flowers. Make sure it's clipped onto that layer. Something like that. More shadows here. Soft blend. And then we need a light source for the flowers too. On here. And on the edge of this daisy. And then just kind of playing around with the blend mode and seeing which one I think fits it best. I definitely think I want to darken this mannequin hand too. So we're gonna do levels layer. So I just want to make sure like the light intensity for these different images kind of match. So I'm just adding or adjusting the levels layer to make sure they kind of match in this aspect as well. And this is something you just kind of have to like mess around with, kind of judge for yourself to see if it fits with the rest of the composition. And it's mainly just after I have all the compositions put together in a place where I like it, it's a matter of adding the details like the shadows and highlights to make sure that the whole composition blends together and looks kind of like one image. So this is, I think, the kind of the more time-consuming part of the process, just so that the background isn't so plain. I think I want to add some kind of texture or some form of grunginess to it. I feel like the background could use some of that. I'm gonna add it here, make it big, and let's see what blend mode. I wonder, I think, let's see, because I really want some kind of texture in there. But maybe if I move it to the, to the overall image, this also helps make things feel like one cohesive piece if there's an overall texture that kind of goes throughout. I think this one's a little too harsh. This one is more subtle. I like this. Yes. And usually some pieces I have words written on the subject, whether it's on the cheek or the neck or whatever, but I feel like because this one has, you know, this black paint smear on the cheek already, I don't think that I need to add any additional messaging. I think things are looking pretty good at this point. I think this composition is like a good stopping point. Alright, so that 1080 by 1920 we made earlier, get all the assets from this image and then just paste in place, and then just kind of crop it according Lee. Looks pretty good to me. So now it looks like we just have to export things, and sometimes I will take it into Lightroom to adjust the colors a little bit more. So we're gonna do that, but first let's name it. This one's the 1080 by 1350 one, and then this one is the 1080 by 1920. All right, I think things are looking pretty good here. So now I'm gonna go to File and Export. Final steps, export. I'm gonna export these as JPEGs. I'm gonna do great quality, please. All right, now I'm gonna open both of these in Lightroom and see if we can change any of the colors up. I mean, sometimes it's not necessary, but I always feel like the colors could always improve a little bit more, and it's just easier for me personally to do it after I export it and then take that exported JPEG file into Lightroom. So I just like to go in and just see what I can do to highlight things a little bit more. So, you know, just messing with the colors here. Some of them I don't want to mess with at all. It just kind of depends on how everything's looking. Maybe I want to intensify the red just a little bit, and I'm going to copy and paste it to this other size. So you see the before and after. I'm just highlighting the colors just a little bit more, and this is the comparison here. All right, I'm pretty pleased with that, so I'm just going to export these. There it is. There is the final art piece and composition. I'm pretty satisfied with it overall. I think it turned out great. All there's left to do at this point is for me to upload it onto my social medias, and I will probably create a video version of it too and edit that in TikTok and then upload it as that. But that's about it for this, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching the process. Let's go to the outro and end off this video. And that concludes today's video. I hope that you guys enjoyed it or learned something new from seeing my creative process in Photoshop. If you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns, leave it in the comment section below and I'll do my best to respond. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave me a comment and let me know your thoughts on this video. Other than that, I'll see y'all later. Peace.